Alright guys, check this out, Ready? Ready? Check this out, new camera. Big upgrade for the channel. Let's go ahead and switch over to it. Here we are on the new camera. As you can see, we have the KLX450 build out, and I think we might have a solution for fitting the 450 motor in there with having the throttle body being pointed this way. Therefore, we can get a custom airbox made, or a front of the airbox, so that way we can have our air duct going this way without the shock reservoir in the way. We already tried to flip the reservoir around. I'll go ahead and put that footage in now. Is it?
Yep.
Nice. No turning back now.
I mean,
you could weld it, but... So I guess we're jumping right into this. Part 3. We got the airbox loosened up. We got the halves split apart, but we can't get the airbox out because the shock is in the way. So, since we already removed the top bolt on the shock, we're just going to go ahead... Oh. When I turn the camera on, apparently that's how it works.
It's falling apart.
But we're still going to remove the shock anyways because they got the impact, and we're going to try and flip it. Okay, so flipping the shock will not work because it's hitting this cross support. Yeah.
450 shock.
No.
It looks more like this.
Okay, yes, but... Well, I mean, you could... No, that looks super tall. Yeah, but do you think this has enough travel for that? The swing arm?
Maybe.
So...
You taking that guy apart?
Yeah, not today. So this will not work, huh? The reservoir...
Unless you notch that out a piece.
You'd need to notch it out a lot, I'd imagine. To the point where you probably cut through it.
Off, yeah.
As you can see, didn't really work out too well. So, I went to work, looked for shocks that could be flipped around or were mounted like the KX anyways. The KLX uses a 14mm shock shaft. The KX450s, I believe, use a 16mm. My idea there was to take the shock shaft from the KLX250 and go ahead and put it in the KX450 body, but that's not going to work. Then I found that the KX500 shock, I think the very early models, like 1989, somewhere around there, those actually used a 14mm shock shaft, but those were really hard to find. That's pretty expensive for a shock that's that old. Then I found the KDX 200-220 shocks use the same shock shaft, use the same bolt to mount the top mount on the shock, and I'm thinking that it's going to use the same clevis as well. So let's go ahead and show you guys the shock. Here's the new shock right here. Well, new. And as you can see, when we mount it, the reservoir is going to be on the right side, and I don't think it's really going to hit anything over there. Therefore, it'll be out of our way for the 450 motor, throttle body, and yeah, so let's go ahead, take this shock off, and hopefully this will bolt straight on. If not, we always have a backup to change out the shock shafts, but I think it's just going to bolt straight up. Alright, how shall I do this by myself? And there's two. Now we go ahead and take off the upper shock mount and the lower shock mount somewhere down here, and this comes right out. Hopefully the new one bolts in. Alright, got the shock out. As you can see, we got the KDX and the KLX shock lined up. KDX shock is a little bit longer, but I think we're gonna work. This does look like it goes through. Yep, like I said, same bolt there. Pretty sure it's the same bolt on the bottom as well. Here is the bottom bolt. Oh, would you look at that? It threads right in. What a coincidence. Alright, let's go ahead and put the shock in. Heck yes. Heck yes. And boom, just like that, the KLX450R shock fits perfectly, exactly where we need the reservoir to be. The bolt up top bolted right in, just like the bottom. Got a little bit longer shock on there too. I was gonna get jack up links for the KLX here to even out the stance, but I don't think we're gonna need it. Of course, we'll probably want to paint the spring, but it fits, and that means we can go ahead and stab the 450 motor in here and mock up the throttle body. Okay, motor is mounted and stabbed. As you can see, we now have the swing arm pivot bolt in the motor. The bolt is a little bit smaller than the hole on the motor itself, and like we planned for, we do have some left and right play down there. As you can see, the chain is lined up pretty well as it sits. The motor, we should have enough clearance here for valve checks. We're gonna have to move. The final resting spot for the motor is going to be a little bit more to the right, so we should be good for valve checks there. I don't know if I should use a larger bolt, like the KX swing arm bolt for the motor here, or if I should get a collar made. I don't know. I guess we'll have to talk to a machine shop about that when they do the spacers for the swing arm. But now with the shock in here, let's go ahead and put the throttle body in, because that's why we got this shock anyways. And it looks like it's gonna be tight, but we should have enough clearance. Okay, so now I can see the next issue that we're gonna have to work with is getting the throttle body to fit in here. We need some more space back in here where the, I don't know what you want to call it, shock support is. So we're gonna have to cut it out as high as we can right here, as low as we can down here, and I imagine we're gonna have to make some sort of support for it that goes around the throttle body on this side. This side is gonna be a little bit less important, but we're also gonna have to make a support that comes off and goes down here, because we can't get the throttle body in now because it's in the way. So I think that is it for the 450 stuff today. Probably gonna have to cut this, move it down, extend this, or cut the vertical support out and modify it a little bit to get the throttle body in there. But we're making progress. At least we got the right angle now. So there's the update for the 450 swap. Now let's talk a little bit about the 300. I was gonna make a separate video for this, but I'll talk a little bit about it now until the parts get in. Now, I wanted to sell the 450 to get KLX450R. Still selling the 450, but I don't think I'm gonna get a KLX450R because I wanted that platform, because you could use the Power Commander 5. And why would I want to use the Power Commander 5? Well, the 351 is coming back. My riding buddy that you guys have seen in the videos, he is getting a big bore for his KLX, and he was able to order me a piston. Kind of a roundabout way of going about getting a piston, but at least we are getting one now. So I wanted to get a 300R, put that motor in there, but I think we could just swap the 351 motor into here. We could take the cams out of here, or we could get the cams that we were going for all along, and instead of a 300R, we could just get the wiring harness and the ECU from that. which relates to my plans for the 300 here. So I want to make this bike basically into more of a dirt bike, enduro bike. So of course that's the normal things like bars, grips, handguards, stuff like that, but we're gonna scrap the taillight, scrap the headlight. We're gonna get a stealth lighting kit, basically like if you were to street legal a 450. We have a front number plate, we have a front fender, we have a rear fender for it as well. So basically the first stage of the 300 is gonna be weight reduction. After weight reduction, we're gonna go ahead and go to suspension, and after suspension, we're gonna go for the power. Would like to figure out a way to fix the ignition timing. You've heard me say it time and time again, but now that the 351 is back, I really just want to see what kind of power that motor can make. So I'm kind of thinking about just getting the 300R electronics. It's a big chunk of change, but I really want to see what power it makes. We'll see how that goes when we get to that point, but we're going to start with weight reduction first. I don't want to give away all the secrets. I'll go over all of that when the parts do come in, but just know weight reduction is going to be first. And well, just looking at the bike, and from what I've said already, you can kind of see what's going to go and what is going to get replaced. So that is going to do it for today's video. 450 update, KLX300 update, what we're going to be doing with that bike. I hope you guys are enjoying the new camera. Big upgrade for the channel. Canon EOS RP. Another collarbone update. It is sucking in pretty well. The bump is still there, but I should be good to go to ride off-road here pretty soon, and we're planning an off-road ride with some buddies. So stay tuned for that. But if you're into motorsports, you're in the right place. With all that being said, join the club, and I'll see you in the next one.